who get it done. Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. If you need new roofing, siding or gutters, skylights or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. See Lance Roofing and Siding at their new location at 6903 Dayton Springfield Road in Enon. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722. Online at lanceroofing.com.
Coming this winter, a deal so epic, so huge, so famous, you'll have to taste it to believe it. The Homestyle Bowl Combo. Affordability strikes back, starring famous chicken, melty cheese, sweet corn, mashed potatoes, and rich gravy. The Homestyle Bowl Combo with a regular drink. Now playing for just $4.99 at a Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken near you. Famous for a reason.
Hi, I'm Shannon Crabtree from Mike Foley's Montgomery County Clerk of Court's office. Do you need something notarized? We've got you covered. Our Montgomery County Clerk of Court's office offers an online notary service that's secure, fast, and free. This service does require a camera. Next time you need a notary, go to courthousetoyou.com and click on notary. It's another convenient service of your Clerk of Courts, Mike Foley, and his national award-winning Courthouse to You programming.
Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. Visit trustandwill.com for details.
Trust and Will.
My dad and I were always close, but some things we just didn't talk about, like his will. After he was gone, we found out he didn't have one, and it created a lot of stress during a time of grief.
Creating a will can be hard to think about, but avoiding it can lead to greater difficulty for the people you love. That's why Trust and Will makes estate planning simple. Create a will online in as little as 30 minutes.
Now, I have a will in place to make sure my loved ones are protected. With Trust and Will, it was easy and affordable. And I got peace of mind knowing my wishes are clear.
Trust and Will.
Get 20% off when you visit trustandwill.com/plan. That's trustandwill.com/plan to get 20% off. trustandwill.com/PLAN.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter.
Taxes was waiting on the refund you needed yesterday.
All right, your car repair is going to run about $3,000.
Now Taxes is getting back on the road with TurboTax and Credit Karma, where you can get your refund up to 5 days faster and get personalized guidance to take every dollar further. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Deposit a federal refund into Credit Karma Money account and early submission of refund data by IRS required. Terms apply. Banking services provided by MVB Bank Inc. Member FDIC. Credit Karma is not a bank.
When winter weather hits and the power goes out, will your family still have heat, light, and communication? The Grid Doctor 3300 solar generator from My Patriot Supply gives you serious off-grid power. It'll run heaters, refrigerators, medical devices, and more without gas or noise. Right now, you can double your power for free with a free expansion battery when you order the Grid Doctor 3300. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and get your Grid Doctor 3300 today. That's mypatriotsupply.com.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is fast for cash. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family. I even buy my tenants won't pay me the rent houses. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, happy Wednesday, everybody. We welcome you in live here, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. It's the Justin Kinner Show. All right, what's on deck for today? Coming up here around the corner, Kevin Stefanski, Baker Mayfield, no longer part of the Browns organization, but their love for one another, they've carried on to their next place. We'll talk about that around the corner. How about Elly De La Cruz? He was offered a major contract by the Reds in spring of last year. He turned it down. More details on that, thanks to C. Trent Rosecrans, have come out. We'll talk about that more in depth coming up here around the corner. Plus, Buckeye fans, C.J. Stroud, I think we all saw it. He kind of struggled over the weekend. He and every other Buckeye quarterback that ever steps foot on an NFL field. Buckeye QBs not being able to cut it in the NFL, is that a problem for the Buckeyes? Is that a Buckeyes problem or an NFL problem? We'll get to that coming up here around the corner. Again, I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show. A lot that we have to get into. A couple headlines as we kick off the show. Cleveland Browns, their head coaching search does continue on. Late yesterday evening, however, former Miami Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel informed the Browns that he's going to be withdrawing his name from consideration for the position. It seems like he's going to take the offensive coordinator position with the Chargers, and he's going to join Harbaugh and Justin Herbert, and sees a prime opportunity there to work with one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and Herbert, who does need a little fine-tuning, let's just put it that way. But we'll talk more about what that means for the Browns coming up here in just a moment. To college football we go, Buckeye fans. More major renovations being made to the shoe. In fact, you'll see one major change you'll notice at the shoe for next college football season will be that the multi-phase renovation for Ohio Stadium will continue. It starts this spring and into the summer. A new, larger video board will be added to the north end zone before this upcoming season, and then another large video board will be added to the south end zone before the 2027 season. So again, more changes being made to the shoe to help enhance the game day experience. So there you go. To college basketball we go. It's been a historic week for Miami, the Redhawks. They finally cracked the top 25 for the first time since 1999. They did, however, continue on last night with that number 25 ranking right next to their name. They improved to 20-0. They get a huge road win at Kent State. They beat the Golden Flashes 107-101 in overtime. All right, so like on the road, I mean, this is the second straight game where they've had to pull out a win in overtime. They had to win at home against Buffalo over the weekend, and then on the road last night at Kent State. I mean, Miami. Can't say, like, they're making it hard for me to root for them because I feel like their coach is being we'll get into this in a moment. I think that they just need to enjoy this moment instead of doing the everyone's out to get us routine. I find that to be laughable. We'll get into that more in a moment. In Atlantic 10 play and A10 play for your Dayton Flyers, they're going to be back in action tonight. They're going to be heading to LaSalle. They're taking on the Explorers. That's going to be a 6:30 tip-off coming up later on. Dayton 5-0 in A10 play. They have a lot of winnable games coming up. They're playing a lot of teams in the bottom of the A10, and that's going to set up what could be a battle of A10 unbeatens on January 30th when Dayton plays at St. Louis. Just like Miami, the Redhawks, they cracked the top 25. So did St. Louis. That's a good thing. I know you don't think that's a good thing, Flyer fans, but that's a good thing because the better St. Louis is, the better increases your opportunities of having a chance to crack your way back into the at-large conversation. Dayton's going to be playing at St. Louis on the 30th. They need them to continue to remain unbeaten and ranked and to help give Dayton some more of those quality wins to again, to climb the ranks. They need to forget the top 25. This is just about getting that resume back on track to get back into the at-large conversation. If they are undefeated heading into the 30th at St. Louis, a top 25 opponent, that's a quad one opportunity. That's massive. And you have not one, but two opportunities against St. Louis here in the next month and a half. You have George Mason still, who's also 6-0, sitting atop the A-10 as well. The Flyers have opportunities. They just can't squander them. And it's not like I'm more confident about UD's chances against St. Louis and George Mason and VCU than I am against the LaSalles of the world. These games tonight, like these are the games that usually bite Dayton in the behind. And hopefully that's not the case tonight. They have a chance to get to continue on their hot streak since conference play began. 5-0 in A-10 play. They'll look to remain unbeaten with the win against LaSalle coming up later on. In Big Ten action, the Ohio State Buckeyes knocked off Minnesota and Columbus last night. Ohio State has now won 3 of their last 4, and it sets up a big one. They're playing some of their best basketball of the season. They're going to be at Michigan. Michigan ranked number 3 in the country. And, that they're going to be linked to Michigan a lot because, for one, the rivalry, yes. But their coach, all right, Michigan's coach, they had a chance to get him. Diebler is trying to prove that the Buckeyes didn't make a mistake by going with him. And they'll have that opportunity on Friday as the Buckeyes, who are in the at-large conversation. John Diebler has the Buckeyes in position to get back to the NCAA tournament, something that they have missed out on in recent years. This is a big opportunity coming up on Friday as the Buckeyes look to hand Michigan another loss. They're number 3 in the country, and Ohio State, the opportunity to get a big win on the road. And we'll have that for you right here on 1410 ESPN Radio on Friday night. Speaking of having a basketball game for you here on 1410 ESPN Radio, coming up later on tonight in the Horizon League, Wright State welcomes in Cleveland State to the Nutter Center for a 7 o'clock tip-off. Wright State sits alone in first place at the top of the Horizon League, and they're going to look to win their 8th straight game here tonight. It is a trap game. All right, they are heavily favored. The last I saw, they're like a 16.5-point favorite. They should win comfortably tonight, and that'll set up their showdown with their hated rival out of the Horizon League in the North and Northern Kentucky. We talked about that with Paul yesterday and with Paul Frischner from the Rebound Rundown. This is a trap game. You're playing a bad team, middle of the week. You're thinking about that big homecoming game on Saturday. It's going to be a large crowd on hand. You're playing some of your best basketball. Don't stub your toe tonight against a bad Cleveland State team. This game worries me more than the NKU game just because, again, that trap game mentality, how these guys come out tonight will be very telling. And we'll have that for you at 7 o'clock right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. And that is our Ohio sports update as we kick off the show here on a Wednesday. All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Step away for a few moments. When we come back, I want to get into this because we just haven't had time to dive into it. But it came out right before Reds Fest that the Reds made an offer to shortstop Elly De La Cruz that would have made him the highest paid player in the history of the Cincinnati Reds organization. Elly De La Cruz said thanks, but no thanks. He turned it down. Will the Reds have a counter offer? What do you make of the Reds' approach to this? We'll talk about all of that and more when we come back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
The Justin Kinner Show, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
$5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right. My friends at Cordell Transportation are now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers with excellent work history. If that's you, apply now. Cordell Transportation offers home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight, and brand new equipment, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months, paid orientation, and company 401k with company match. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Okay, so your trophy's in the cabinet. Business is great. The growing pains are all in the past, and you're feeling optimistic. Now you're in big trouble. Because truth is, no matter how well you slayed your last quarter, the next one could slay you right back. And without a cohesive strategy and a scalable idea you can rely on, nothing is certain except uncertainty. Which is why for your next rodeo, you need the Next Rodeo. The Next Rodeo is a true creative partner that brings next-level creative thinking and production quality to companies who didn't believe they could afford it. So you can keep your company growing without outgrowing the dream that started it. The Next Rodeo. The difference between the business you have and the business you want. is one great scalable idea. Get the full story at thenextrodeo.com.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay, things people love.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
This year, I'm giving my hair salon a total makeover.
Total makeover sounds totally expensive.
We updated our logo and colors, so I needed to print new signage, brochures, business cards, everything.
Everything will not be cheap.
Staples did it all, and I saved $100 on my order.
$100? Trim my whiskers, that's a good deal. For everything your business needs to print, let's go Staples.
That was easy.
Offer valid in-store and online. F131 exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details.
Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like needing a lawyer, but getting some guy who just watches courtroom dramas.
How does the defendant plead?
Guilty.
Wait,
what? Also, objection.
You object to what?
Erroneous.
Counsel, approach the bench.
Hey, can I get a whack at the gavel?
You wouldn't settle for just any lawyer, so don't settle for just any insurance. Get the real deal with State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Taxes was waiting on the refund you needed yesterday.
All right, your car repair is going to run about $3,000.
Now Taxes is getting back on the road with TurboTax and Credit Karma, where you can get your refund up to 5 days faster and get personalized guidance to take every dollar further. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Deposit a federal refund into Credit Karma Money account and early submission of refund data by IRS required. Terms apply. Banking services provided by MVB Bank, Inc. Member FDIC. Credit Karma is not a bank.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you if you could simply take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, apartment buildings, rental portfolios. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer and speak with one of our friendly staff members at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
$1410 ESPN Radio, Dayton's radio home for Wright State basketball. Wright State will be in action coming up later on tonight. Cleveland State in town at the Nutter Center. 6:45 pregame coverage begins. Chris Collins and the coach Jim Brown will have the call. Wright State 7 straight wins, looking to increase that to 8 tonight against Cleveland State, and then that'll set up the big showdown with their rival NKU at the Nutter Center on Saturday. So we're looking forward to that coming up around the corner. All right, moving on. Shout out, appreciate the Cincinnati Reds for having us out. We just renewed with them. We're going to be carrying Reds baseball again for years to come, so we're excited about that. Had a chance to go to Cincinnati, meet with the Reds. I got to host my show there, kicked off the show with Phil Castellini, got a chance to catch up with Hunter Green and Andrew Abbott. TJ Friedel was fun to talk to, and Emilio Pagan, who was one of the bigger moves that the Reds made in the offseason. I think that's going to be a very underrated move. I compared the Reds' offseason moves yesterday to if you're an NFL fan and your team does nothing in the offseason except sign a bunch of offensive linemen. When the draft comes around, like I saw a mock draft today, like the Cleveland Browns need offensive linemen and wide receivers. And Mel Kiper put out a mock draft today that had the Browns taking an offensive lineman with their top 10 pick. And I just didn't care for it. But I know the Browns really need help with their offensive line, but I want the wide receiver. I want Carnell Tate. And it doesn't even have to be Carnell Tate. I want it to be Carnell Tate, but I just want wide receivers. I want impact players. But we talk as if The offensive line are not impact players. Most of you are Bengals fans. You understand the significance of the offensive line. But it just goes to show that when you make moves in the offseason for offensive linemen, they're just not very sexy moves. They don't really move the needle, but they're oh so important. And that's the bullpen, okay? With the moves that the Reds have made this offseason, getting Pierce Johnson, okay, getting Caleb Ferguson, getting good lefties, getting Amelia Pagan to return, a 2-year, $20 million deal, $10 million per. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal. But I get why fans are not jumping for joy. Those just aren't sexy moves. The Reds were like making sure that the trenches were their point of emphasis. They needed offense and the trenches. They went for the trenches because the trenches matter more than anything. Terry Francona made a good point the other day saying, hey, he understands that they didn't really enhance the offense as far as their ability to produce runs, and they got to get creative with how to do that. But at the same time, if you're going to struggle to produce runs, what you really need is a pitching staff that is going to just keep you in the ball game longer. To where when your offense does produce a big night at the plate, your defense, that your pitching staff is going to be able to secure that W. That's a big piece to this puzzle as well. So that's besides the point. I want to talk about not so much a move that the Reds could have made this offseason, but a move that they attempted to make last offseason. C. Trent Rosecrans put this out on July 16th. And C. Trent Rosecrans, he don't care for me. I don't know why. He blocked me on Twitter, whatever. There's a list of those guys, by the way. He, I think, is being fed stuff from the Reds. I don't know what to make of this reporting. Keep in mind, Reds Fest is a huge deal. Okay? It just is. And 16th and 17th, I thought it was very strange that C. Trent Rosecrans released this piece on the Reds and their negotiation attempt with Elly De La Cruz. It made Elly look bad, and it was framed in a way to make the Reds look good. And this is why I believe that the Reds use C. Trent Rosecrans to put this piece out. He's just he's a mouthpiece for the organization. Great writer. He's good at what he does. But sometimes when people say, when I talk about how the media is soft on the Reds and soft on the Bengals, this is examples of this. C. Trent knows he's never going to be aggressive covering the Reds because he doesn't get little pieces like this. How about this piece that was put out by C. Trent Rosecrans on January 16th, the night before Reds Fest, highlighting the fact that last spring, the Reds made an offer to shortstop Elly De La Cruz that would have eclipsed Joey Votto's club record 10-year, $225 million contract extension that he signed back in 2012. De La Cruz turned it down. Okay. President of Baseball Operations Nick Kroll, who is going to join us on the show next week, had this to say to C. Trent Rosecrans, that we made Elly an offer that would have made him the highest paid Red ever. That's not where he is, and you have to respect that. It's their career. You keep going, and you keep working on what you can do today. Here is why I feel like C. Trent Rosecrans is protecting the Reds with this article, because the way it's framed. The Cincinnati Reds were willing to make Elly De La Cruz the highest paid player in the history of the Reds organization. Well, when you do that, that sounds all warm and fuzzy inside, right? Like, it sounds great. That's super. The Reds are being aggressive. They're trying to make Elly the highest paid player ever in the history of the Reds. That's great, but that's not really saying anything because the Reds don't spend a whole lot of money. And bragging that you are willing to eclipse the Joey Votto contract from a decade and some change ago is almost borderline disrespectful. What I would like to know is, what was the contract that the Reds offered? What did the Reds offer? What was the number? See, Trent, don't just report that, oh man, they were, willing to make him the highest paid player in the history of the Reds. Well, we can all do the math. If he was going to be the highest paid player in the history of the Reds, and we know that Joey Votto was 225 over 10, I think we could all do the math that we know it's more than that, but how much more? Are we talking, instead of 25 a year, 25.5 a year? 26 a year? Or was it going to be $225 million and a penny because that one penny technically means that's more than anyone else has made as a Red in the history of the franchise. David Shaw, he's listening on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. He says, I found the timing of the release of the article very interesting. That was put out purposely. That was put out purposely because the Reds are losing a lot of PR wars, and they wanted to try to win one by just putting enough information out there to make them look like, oh man, the Reds, everyone is just assuming that Elly De La Cruz is as good as a Dodger or as good as gone. But no, the Reds, they really are trying to keep Elly. Are they? The Reds knew that he wasn't going to accept that. Scott Boras, his agent, knowing the money that, the Dodgers are just spitting out money left and right. There's no way in hell. You have a collective bargaining agreement coming up, which is why if I'm Elly De La Cruz, I would almost consider this. But I think the Reds need to start at $350 million. I think it was Bowden the other day that was talking about the fact that the Reds need to start at $350 million. That's where the conversations need to start. But when you're seeing others go for $700 and $500 and $600, Elly, if he has a breakout year this year, and he's had some monster seasons, but he's also been very inconsistent. We saw the limitations at the plate last year. He went an entire month without hitting a home run. Now, it came out after the season. He was battling injuries, so maybe that's why. I hope that's the case, by the way. Everyone that said, oh, man, they're just making excuses, I actually hope that is a real excuse. I hope that is the reason why his power diminished last year. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. The Reds, they threw out a historic offer to Elly De La Cruz. They were going to make him the highest paid player in the history of the franchise. He balked at the offer. He turned it down. The timing of the article I thought was interesting. I thought it was just to win the PR war. Oh, man, the Reds are trying. And what they risked, though, is taking a fan favorite like Elly De La Cruz. And what I feel like they risked in doing this was putting him in a position to be the bad guy. Man, the Reds are trying to keep him. Elly doesn't want to be a Red. Elly wants to be a Red. Elly wants paid. But the Reds try to pay him. They need to pay him more. When you see the dollars that are being tossed around the league, I just think it's a wrong approach by the Reds. I would have rather the Reds not approached him at all than to offer him slightly north of $225 million, because that's almost borderline disrespectful. It's almost borderline disrespectful. Have you ever requested a raise at work because you're worth more, and work comes back to you and says, hey, we couldn't get you a lot, but we got you a 1% increase? And you ever want to look back at your boss and your job and say, you know what, go ahead and keep this because it seems like you guys needed a hell of a lot more than I do? That's how Elly De La Cruz should look at the Castellinis and that front office and say, hey, guys, I appreciate this, but this is a joke, right? You see what these other players are going for, and you're offering me that, like, you mean to tell me with the value of the Reds that has grown over the last 10 years, you mean to tell me that the only thing you could do is slightly north of what you gave Joey Votto 12 years ago? I'm sorry, 13 years ago? You mean to tell me your revenue, that your organization hasn't grown in the last 13 years, that you could afford more than the max of what you gave Joey Votto? Which, by the way, one of my favorite stories, that money was not intended for Joey Votto. That money was intended for Albert Pujols. I've always found that fascinating, that even with the Joey Votto come up, with the way Joey Votto came up through the system and the way he produced, that the Reds still were looking at another first baseman, that they were looking at Albert Pujols. I've always found that fascinating, that was the case. Obviously, Albert Pujols went for more money when he went to the Angels, and he spent his next 10 years there. And yeah, the rest is history. But nonetheless, 937-518-1410, that's the number that you can call or text into the show. I mean, the amount of people I saw that were ripping Elly De La Cruz, I'm like, wait, Elly's not the bad guy here. And I'm not even necessarily saying that the Reds are the bad guy here, but this is another example of, I would have rather the Reds not even offered him anything, because Elly turning you down makes you look bad. Why even offer him something that you know he's going to say no to? Because when he says no, you look bad. It was the same thing with the Kyle Schwarber sweepstakes. Like, you know you have no chance to get Kyle Schwarber. unless you thought you could get Kyle Schwarber. So if you feel you can get Kyle Schwarber, that means you need to be smart enough to know that you're going to have to bring a lot of money to the table. And bringing $25 million a year to a guy that is going to be, that you know is going to go for more than that, and ultimately did go for more than that, I feel like you upset your fan base more by swinging and missing than just not even stepping to the plate at all. I feel like this article upset Reds fans more because, oh, the Reds are not serious about keeping Elly De La Cruz. Kinner, what do you mean? How are they not serious about keeping Elly De La Cruz? They just tried to make him the highest paid player in the history of the Reds because their PR approach worked for some of you. Some of you are falling for it. But the Reds knew deep down he was never going to go for slightly north of $225 million of what Joey Votto made 13 years ago. But they knew if they offered it to him and he said no, that him saying no would be the story. Elly De La Cruz rejects historic offer from Cincinnati Reds. Instead of the historic offer that the Reds offered is a major lowball offer that they knew deep down he was never going to accept. I think the Reds look worse when they do these types of things. Don't just offer it to offer it. If you're actually trying to keep Elly, then damn it, put an offer together that is going to entice him to stay. If you were serious about getting Kyle Schwarber, then put a deal together that is going to force him to consider the Cincinnati Reds, like legitimately consider the Reds. The Reds didn't do that. They didn't do it with Kyle Schwarber. They're not doing it here. That's my problem. If you truly don't have the money, fine. Then don't go to the high stakes room when you go to the casino. Go to the penny slots and do what you do best. All right? Take that dollar, turn it into $20 and feel good on the way home that you covered dinner or, put a half a tank of gas in. But don't go with the mindset of playing penny slots and then finding yourself in the high stakes room and then panicking because you mortgaged your future. If you can't afford to go in the high stakes room, stay out. Stay out. Do your best work where you know you could do your best work. Don't go in there and gamble it all away. Nonetheless, Ann Anderson. Ann, I hope you're well. Ann says, Elly is betting on himself. And you are so right, Justin. The offer from the Reds was garbage. They knew he would not accept. That offer was a joke. And that's the thing. We don't know what the offer was, but here's why I know it was a lowball offer. Because if the Reds felt proud about the dollar amount that they offered, they would have said, hey, we offered him $300 million. Hey, we offered him $35 million. Hey, we offered him $40 million a year. If they felt that they provided him an offer that they were proud of, they would want us to know what that offer was. But because they're not proud of it, they tried to soup it up with the little PR dress and makeup by saying, man, the Reds, we sat down with Elly De La Cruz last spring and we tried to make him the highest paid player in the history of the franchise. That's a problem. That's not saying much. That's not saying much. Either way. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. And thank you for your note. Shaw, thanks for your note. I know, Shaw, you're on hold. The couple callers on hold. We're going to get to you guys when we come back. Did the Reds make the right move to throw out any offer? Are you happy that they made any attempt to try to get Elly to sign last spring? Or are you being negative like me and saying, hey, if you were just going to lowball him, why even offer him anything at all? 937-518-1410. You could text or call. We'll be right back.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ABS, TPMS, CVT, VVT. The auto industry loves its alphabet soup, but at Carroll Works Tire in Dayton, we keep it simple. The only acronym you need to remember is TIRE. Trust, integrity, reliability, expertise. That's what we deliver every day. Carroll Works Tire, keeping Dayton rolling with TIRE service you can count on. Find us online at C-W Tire or talk to a real human. 937-461-5441.
Have you heard? Bath Creations has moved to their new location and showroom at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton. This gives you even more opportunity to see the incredible amenities and craftsmanship Bath Creation offers. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful, modern bathroom that is safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save an additional $500 off your purchase. Visit at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton or online at mybathcreations.com and get a new bath today.
Did you know you can stop the spread of STIs by using Condom Sense? Yes, Condom Sense is when you correctly use latex condoms every time. They are highly effective in reducing the transmission of sexually transmitted diseases. To learn more about using condoms, how to get free condoms, and how to get tested for STIs, call Public Health Dayton and Montgomery County at 937-225-5700. Let's use Condom Sense and stop the spread of STIs.
Are you involved with a school or charitable fundraiser that holds an auction, bid and buy booth, or a raffle to raise money? Many of the most popular items at auctions or booths are autographed sports memorabilia items. How can you get great items in your event? Call Adam Walter at Sports Investments. Sports Investments has a consignment program for fundraisers that has provided outstanding items. You select items that are proven sellers, including autographed pieces from Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Joey Votto, the Big Red Machine, the Bengals, the Browns, UC, XU, UK, NKU, Dayton, Louisville, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. Sports Investments consigns the items to your group at a highly discounted price. And when they sell, you keep the profit. You don't pay anything in advance. And if something doesn't sell, you simply return it. You'll enjoy the experience of dealing with the Walter family. Call them at 513-891-5000. Email Adam at sportsinvestments.com or visit them on Montgomery Road, right off I-275, just 40 minutes from WING.
The Menards 15% off bag sale is here. Whether you pack it, load it, stuff it, or stack it, if it fits in the bag, you save 15%. Need new tools? Updating your bath or faucet? Or simply want some snacks? Put them in the bag and save 15%. So pick up a bag in-store at Menards and find out how much you can fit in the bag. Now through January 24th. See store for complete details.
Save big money at Menards.
With Progressive Snapshot, you could save on auto insurance rates by driving safely, which is nice because you can just keep doing you. So keep on using that broken phone charger because it occasionally works. Keep quoting something you heard on a podcast as your own. Keep ignoring your sister's texts while you drive and after. And when baggage claim says, have a great trip, keep on saying, you too. And keep driving safely. And you could save with Snapshot from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents. Surcharge possible for unsafe driving.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM, 937-518-1410, the number to call or text to jump in on the conversation. So something that happened heading into the weekend that we didn't really have time to touch on off on Monday and spent a lot of time yesterday on Indiana, the Big Ten. 3 straight years, Big Ten crowning a national champion. How about that? Michigan year 1, Ohio State year 2, and the improbable Indiana Hoosiers. Congrats to Kurt Signetti and his staff and that team. That's a hell of a story. But something we didn't get to spend a lot of time on, that this was interesting. It's surprising, but not. You have Elly De La Cruz. We know we're heading into the final couple years, and that if you're smart, you would love to get a deal done. I don't think the Reds get enough credit for the contract that they were able to get done with Hunter Green. Okay, Hunter Green and the Cincinnati Reds, were able to get a contract done early, and it was huge for Cincinnati. It gave them so much flexibility. If you remember, Hunter Green signed back in April of 2023. Hunter Green signed a 6-year, $53 million contract extension. And that was massive in 2023 because it was one of those where Hunter Green, although still not really able to prove that he could stay healthy, he had proven that he had some good stuff. A little inconsistent at times, but there was something there. And the Reds felt that for a 6-year, $53 million contract extension, even if he continued just being what he was a couple years ago, he was still, 6-year, $53 million, on the high end, $15 million a year for a solid starting pitcher is still a good market value deal. Or Hunter Green would break out and turn into an ace and turn into a Cy Young candidate and turn into a top 10 pitcher in baseball. And to get that at $15 million, it's value that is unheard of. That value is so unheard of that it led to a lot of rumors and speculation that the Reds were opening to trade Hunter Green because there was some unrest from Hunter Green and his staff with the Reds organization that he wanted to renegotiate, or he wanted to, rework that contract. The Reds would be fools to rework that contract. If you give a player, if you look at Candelario for existence or Mike Moustakas, the Reds have given some bigger contracts over the years that have blown up in their face. The Reds weren't allowed to go to Candelario and say, hey, we paid you a lot of money because we expected you to be this. We need you to give some of that money back. That's not how it works. You have to pay that player whether they are good or if they stink. And they paid Candelario, who was Candelario for 5, 0 for 6, and 0 for 7. Moustakas, I still defend that move to this day. There are bad signings, and then there are signings that don't work out. A lot of you like to say that the Moustakas deal was a bad signing. That was not a bad signing. A lot of teams were lining up to get Mike Moustakas. He was one of the best available free agents that year, and the Reds got him along with Castellanos, coming off of a season where they traded for Trevor Bauer. That was a good signing. It just didn't work out, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? There are times where you take a chance on a guy that wasn't very good last year, like Austin Hayes. The Reds signed Austin Hayes last year. If Austin Hayes would have been as bad as he was the year before, I would have been like, yeah, you guys deserve that. That's what you get. He was better than that year before. He still just didn't break out the way we wanted. But I say all of this because the Reds did the smart thing with Hunter Green to get that deal done early. And to have him through the 2029 season, which lines up perfectly with Elly De La Cruz. You have Elly De La Cruz through that same season. You have a Hall of Fame manager in Terry Francona, and who knows how long he's going to do this, but you would like to think that he's not going to be here past 2029. Nick Lodolo, a lot of these big names in this rotation, even Chase Burns, who was just called up, the Reds aren't going to be able to afford to pay Hunter Green another extension. They're not going to be able to pay big, heavy dollars to obviously a lot of these arms that are in this rotation, in Lodolo and others. Andrew Abbott's going to be expensive when it's time to pay him. So all of these guys are lining up to be done within the next 3-4 years max. So with that, and by the way, there's going to be a strike, so you're going to lose a year of all of these guys' services. So it's one of those where when the Reds are dragging their feet a bit at times, I do get frustrated. But at the same time, I kind of want to see what these guys bring to the table. I want to see what Sal Stewart does. I want to see if Matt McClain has a bounce-back year. If Elly truly was struggling last year because he was playing injured, then my goodness, a healthy Elly, Matt McClain bounce back. Sal Stewart was a star in September. If he picks up where he left off and he's in the best shape he's ever been in, I don't think the Reds are in that bad a shape. But these contracts The Reds have to be very smart, and they didn't get enough credit for that Hunter Green deal, so I want to make sure we're giving them that credit because they deserve it. And they are trying that same approach with Elly De La Cruz, but the difference is, Elly De La Cruz has already proven to be a star with some deficiencies and with some room to grow, but a star nonetheless. Even if Elly does not improve from last year to this year, he's still the best player on this roster. Now, that could be a problem. That could be, you could say, well, then that's the problem right there. But I think Elly De La Cruz still brings so much more to the table that offering him just north of 225 over 10 is borderline disrespectful, and I think proves to Scott Boras and Elly De La Cruz that, oh, yeah, you're not serious about this. I would have rather the Reds sat down with Boras and him and said, hey, we're not going to be able to give you an offer in the ballpark range of what you're looking for. But we want to do everything we can to make this relationship work over the next couple of years. We want this to be an amicable split. We will look to trade you to an organization that's going to take care of you and pay you and put you in position to win when that time comes. But let's go ahead and attack this with a lot of aggressiveness over the next 2 or 3 years. And let's try to send you out a winner. And let's try to send Reds fans out, with some wins as well. That's how I wish the Reds would approach this. Work with Elly and not against Elly. And I think whatever offer they gave him, and again, I'm not confident. We don't know what the number is, but I'm confident it wasn't a good number, because if it was a number that the Reds were proud of, they would have came out and said, we offered Elly De La Cruz a $375 million contract over 10 years, and he turned it down. Then I'd be like, that's still he's going to make more than that, but that's a respectable offer. Because you offered Joey Votto 25 over 10 back in 2012. So the fact that your next biggest contract in franchise history is $12 million more than that shows me that you're following the growth of the sport around the league, and that's a respectable offer. I don't find a $230 million contract over 10 to be that, respectful. If it's just north of what Joey Votto made, that's not respectful at all. And I will be anti-Reds. And I've been more understanding and patient with the Reds than some. I won't be patient with that. Because just like the Kyle Schwarber deal, as I shared in the last segment, I would have much rather the Reds never even entered the Kyle Schwarber sweepstakes than to lose them because you weren't willing to spend a penny more than 25. It's like the Reds organization has come together and said, we cannot spend more than $25 million a year on any player at any given time. That's why 13 years ago, Joey Votto, $25 million a year, 10 years. That's why last year, Nick Martinez, $22.5 million, right in that ballpark range. It's not a coincidence. Kyle Schwarber, they offered him a 5-year, $250 million deal, $25 million. They are not willing to spend a penny more than $25 million a year on a player, which is fine when that was the respectable number 13 years ago. That's a problem now. The fact that you looked at Kyle Schwarber and said, we can't spend more than $25 million a year on you, knowing the production that you bring to the table, that's a problem. Looking at Elly De La Cruz and saying, hey, we're going to give you $25 million a year, $26 million a year, that's a problem. If that's the ballpark range that we're playing in, that is a problem, nonetheless. All right, let's go to the comment section before I get to your responses in the text, in the chat. Where'd we go here? Let's go to the comments. Steve Stetler on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page said, it's all a trade ploy. Reality says the Reds can't afford him. Oh, I'm with you. I don't think the Reds can afford him. And you want to know what? And I just said this, basically. I said, if the Reds came to the table and publicly let it be known, we know we're not going to be able to offer Elly what he's looking for. So because of that, we are going to work hand in hand to make sure we send Elly out a winner. I think some Reds fans can forgive. I do think some Reds fans will be understanding. Don't have to like it, but, it's kind of where I'm at. Some of my favorite bosses I've ever worked for have always been the ones that are the most transparent. Hey, I don't have the best of news for you. That raise you wanted, we can't do that right now. Hey, that item you wanted to help the station that we know would help, we can't really get that for you right now. Hey, the trip you wanted to do for the station, we can't really do that right now, but here's what we can do. I've always felt like that. I've always respected that approach from bosses. The ones I have not been able to work well with are the ones that, no, that's no. well, can I ask why? Is there something that we can do to make it work? No. And that's what I'm curious how the Reds are going to approach this. Hey, I get you can't afford Elly, but what are we going to do to try to make this work, though? Are you just going to pout over the next 3 years because you can't afford Elly, or are we going to try to go all out? That's what I want to see over the next couple of years. It's going to be tough, though, because there will not be a season next year. A year from now, we're going to be talking a lot about potentially the Bengals making a deep playoff run and talking about what are the Reds going to do when baseball comes back in 2028, because there will be no baseball in 2027. The rumblings that made the way around Reds Fest, everyone that follows baseball and understands baseball, we all know there will not be a season next year. There will not be a season next year. David Mann on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page says the team doesn't look worse to fans that acknowledge the truth about the franchise. These stories just continue to confirm our belief of how Dollar Tree cheap this ownership is. Yes, but even if this organization wasn't cheap, we know deep down they can't afford $600-700 million for Elly De La Cruz. I don't think the Reds not being able to afford Elly De La Cruz at $600 or $700 million to me doesn't make them cheap. It just doesn't. It doesn't. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I do believe the Reds were a little cheap when it came to Kyle Schwarber. You can't afford to do $250 million over 5 years for a guy that you know is going to be an impact player for you. That's where I get frustrated. I know this sounds crazy, and maybe it's just because I've accepted fate, but like, I'm not mad at the Reds for the Elly situation. It's just not. If you are a Reds fan and you're going to be pissed about Elly for the next 3 or 4 years, that to me is more on you than the Reds. And I don't mean that in a mean way to like challenge you or to stir the pot, but there are times where you have to be realistic. You have to be realistic. Well, the Dodgers could do it. How come the Reds can't do it? We know that answer. We know that answer. I mean, to get mad at the Reds for something that 90% of the league can't do either, that's a waste of time. A good chunk of the league could afford. I mean, the Pirates offered Kyle Schwarber. That's why I'm annoyed that the Reds couldn't get that deal done, because you could get that deal done. Losing Elly De La Cruz to the Dodgers, Padres, Mets, or Yankees when he gets his $600 million deal done, guys, I'm not going to blame the Reds for that. 90% of the league can't do that. 90% of the league can't do that, in my opinion. And if you have pushback to that, that's fine. I just think you need there comes a time where us as fans, we have to be realistic and knowledgeable about our franchises as well. So we'll see what happens. Now, the other thing is, if a salary cap or a salary floor is implemented, does that change the approach? I am curious, that strike for baseball a year from now, I'm really hoping that the league comes out on top with that. You should not support the players in this. I've always been amazed at how many of you actually are pro player in these things. You need to be pro Rob Manfred. You need to be pro Castellini. You need to be pro ownership in this particular case. Because the players don't want a cap. The players want it the way it is. And you as fans can't sit here and say, no. Baseball needs this and this and this, and then support Bryce Harper for telling Rob Manfred to shut the F up and to get out of the clubhouse at the All-Star break. We should be anti-Bryce Harper. We should be anti any player in Major League Baseball that is not open to it, because if the players truly cared about me and you as a fan, they would be all for a salary cap. They would be all for a floor. They would be all for any kind of revenue suggestion that would give more teams a shot to spread the star players around the league and to allow fans to enjoy it equally, or at least as close to, across the league. That's why I laughed so much last year when people were cheering Rob Manfred getting told to shut the F up by Bryce Harper. I'm like, Bryce Harper is a D-bag for that. You should be booing Bryce Harper, not Rob Manfred. Rob Manfred is trying to do everything he can to improve the game for you. All these changes that you all got mad at, they were done for you. Let's speed the game up. That was done for you. Let's put netting up the first and third baseline so you don't die going to a baseball game. You guys bitch moaned and complained about that. That was done for you. Limiting the amount of, trips to the mound. That was done for you. And Rob Manfred delivered. That's why ratings are through the roof. That's why attendance is through the roof. That's why, ratings on radio and TV up. Everything is trending up. Baseball is trending up. It's trending towards a strike because of what the players are wanting. I'm anti-Bryce Harper. I'm anti any player that is against what baseball is trying to implement and allowing more teams to have a shot when it comes to this. This is why I'm not mad at the Reds for the Elly De La Cruz thing, because they will never, ever be able to give $600 million to a player. And I don't blame the players for not wanting that to go away. But why should I care about their money? They don't care about my interest. I don't care about their money. I'm interested in seeing Elly stay in Cincinnati. I'm interested in that as far as that goes. Let's go back to it. Chad Kinster says baseball needs a salary cap, plain and simple. Yeah, Chad, and I think that's what, you can't have one without the other. If they implemented a salary cap, I don't think that changes the Reds. For instance, if they said that the salary cap is that teams cannot spend more than $250 million on a roster, do you realize that that doesn't do anything to the Reds? The Reds are like, oh, we can't spend more than $250 million on our roster? That's super. We're not even spending more than $115 million right now. Guys, even if they made the salary cap at $200 million, the Reds still wouldn't change their approach. It wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like, the Reds would not change their ways. If you tell them they can't spend more than $200 million, the Reds will continue spending $115 million. That's not going to change. The Guardians, they are bottom 5 in spending every year in baseball. They're spending about 85 on their roster this year. Let's say everyone wants a salary cap. And Chad, I'm not yelling at you. I'm just saying you and so many people want a salary cap. What does the salary cap do? You want to punish the Dodgers. Okay, you're kind of punishing the Dodgers, but you're not forcing the Reds or the Pirates or the Guardians to change their cheap ways. They're going to look at that salary cap and say, well, we don't even come close to that, so we don't have to worry about that. They need a floor. The Reds need to be told your asses need to spend $150 million a year. And that's not a big number. But think about this roster, how good it is right now, and they're spending $115. Imagine what this roster would look like if the Reds were forced to spend another $30 million. They would have Eugenio Suarez, or they would have Kyle Schwarber. They would have Kyle Schwarber along with the return of Emilio Pagan and the addition of Pierce Johnson, and those guys. You know what I mean? They would have a top 10 bullpen to go along with that top 10 rotation. And now they would have the best home run hitter in baseball and the smallest ballpark in baseball and one of the youngest lineups in baseball. And they would be one of the most exciting teams in baseball. A salary floor is what the Reds need. It's what we as fans need. I don't care about a salary cap. Because guess what? The Dodgers, if you tell them you can't spend more than $250, they're going to spend $255 million, and they're going to pay the luxury tax on that $5 to $10 million over, while the Reds continue to spend at the same threshold. It won't change anything. It may make the Dodgers less explosive. They'll continue winning World Series with the roster that looks less like the National League All-Star roster, but they'll still be better than everybody else because they're going to continue to spend up to the max. The Reds need to be told, though, hey, you have to at least spend 150, 160. I mean, it's pathetic that even if the salary floor was 130, that the Reds spending $15 million more would still make this roster a million times better. And the Pirates would be better. And the Guardians. And people say, well, Kenner, I can't believe you rip on the Guardians, because the Guardians, I mean, they were just in the AL Championship 2 years ago. They're always in the bottom 5 in spending, but they're always contending. I know. What do they have to show for it? Do they have a World Series? Well, that time in 2016, that's great. The Guardians were actually top 15 in spending that year, so you get what you pay for. But imagine the Guardians made it to the American League Championship Series 2 years ago. Bottom 5 in spending. Imagine if they would have been middle of the pack in spending. They probably win the World Series, or they at least get to the World Series. So every time the Guardians, who do win games, they made the playoffs last year, bottom 5 in spending, they made the playoffs last year. Yeah, and imagine if they spent money. They're not getting knocked out in the opening round. The Reds would be better. The Guardians would be better. The Pirates would be. If you could raise the floor of baseball, the sport that has already bounced back and is healthy, it would be even better. Sorry, I'm going off here, but that's kind of where I'm at. That's kind of where I'm at when it comes to all of this. I just think that the floor will save baseball more than anything. The cap, I don't care about the cap. I mean, people say, well, something has to be done about the Dodgers. Doesn't. We're mad that the Reds don't spend, and we're mad at the team that does. I'm not mad at the Dodgers for doing what I wish my team would do. I'm not going to tell the Dodgers that you have to stop adding good players to your roster. I need to look at my team and say, you need to start adding good players to your roster. Stop scolding the Dodgers for doing what we wish our teams would do. As far as that goes. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. David Mann says, every team not named the Dodgers can't afford what contracts have become. It's the feel that the Reds aren't even spending to the level that they could at least do that much. I'm not defending the Reds here, but you talk about the Reds as if they spend like the Dodgers or like the Guardians and the Pirates and the Marlins. They're not in that boat. The Reds spend more than most. We just want them to spend more. And spending more doesn't technically always guarantee that you're going to make the playoffs. I mean, the Guardians are bottom 5. They find a way to make the playoffs, but my argument about them was you make the playoffs without spending. Imagine what you would do if you spent. I think the Guardians, as dumb as this sounds because they at least win, I think what the Guardians do is more malpractice than the Reds. Because the Guardians don't invest into their winning product. They don't invest. They have a winning product and they don't invest into it. You're leaving meat on the bone. I think what the Guardians do is way worse than the Reds. I think it's way worse. Let's go to Shaw. 937-518-1410. Shaw, you're on live, man. What's up?
Ben, how you doing?
I didn't hear you because I didn't have your level turned up. My bad. But I'm assuming you said, how am I doing? I'm doing great.
Well done. You know me too well. You with that last little rant of yours, you took every bit of talking points that I had. It's frustrating to me. And it took, I don't know. Let's rewind probably 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, something like that. And I always kind of knew there was a frustration in my head about the Cincinnati Reds, and I couldn't really put my finger on it. Then your show started, and you started talking about it, and I started reading more from a couple other people, and then I started listening to other things with baseball related, and it all came together with me, and it's all about this same topic right here. What frustrates me about the Elly Cruz contract is the fact that you know that I know, and most of the the rest of the fan base knows that all that deal was a slap in the face to Elly. That's all it was. The timing of it makes it even more of a slap in the face because they knew Elly was going to come out and have to sign autographs to the fans, and they knew he was going to have to get asked questions by the fans and have to answer this question and answer that question. It's just all a reminder of just how cheap this organization is, and it's just frustrating. Because like I told you last year, and I told the guys there when you were there with off the bench and all of that, it's not that I want the Reds to be up there in the top 10, top 8, competing with the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers and the Cubs and all of those. We don't need them competing with those high salary payroll teams. All I'm asking the Reds to do is be competitive and just be median payroll. That's all I'm asking them. Last year, that meant that they were $47 million below the median payroll. And this year, it's probably going to come around about the same amount. And you were just talking about what just $20-30 million would do to this roster. Think about what $40 million would do to this roster. And that's why I agree. And you were the first one, and I'll give you that credit. you were the first one that started talking about the salary floor. And because I was always one of those ones that said there needs to be a salary cap in baseball, and I was always pumping my chest and yada, yada, yada. But then you started talking about the floor, and it makes a whole heck of a lot of sense. I do still think there needs to be a cap, but I also, just as important, feel that there does need to be a floor.
I think you need both. I don't think you could have at the very least, like if you ask me which one is more important, is the cap more important to cut off the Dodgers from doing what they're doing, or is the floor more important to stop the Reds and the Pirates and the Marlins and the jokes of cheap franchises from doing what they do? I think that the Reds, Marlins, Pirates, Guardians, and others, I think they hurt baseball way more. Everyone's saying the Dodgers are killing it. People are tuning in to watch that. People are not like when the Dodgers do what they do, we hate it, but we're tuning into that. The numbers show it. We hate what the Guardians and the Reds and the Pirates and others do, but we don't tune into that. We're not watching that because that's that and the numbers are showing that as well. I mean, the Reds are, but you see my point. Like, we're not supporting that.
Yeah.
If you have to have one versus the other, I want the floor over the cap. But I do think for it to be as effective as it needs to be both, as far as that goes, because you can't have one without the other. I'll be curious, but there's going to be some middle ground. I don't know what that middle ground is going to be. I think the middle ground is the floor, because I think that the players are not going to truly give up being able to make that type of money. They're going to say, we want the Dodgers to still be able to spend that money. But don't be mad at us. Be mad at them. Force them to spend money. And then that's how you kind of raise the level of everybody. And I think that's the direction that this is going to end up going a year from now when we're talking about this lockout.
I completely agree. But bringing it more back to home, and there'll be plenty of time to talk about the salary and everything next year when we're not talking about baseball. But bringing it more back home, and with the Elly stuff and like that, what would you think about them trading him right now? Because, and here's my point why. With us more than likely 99.9% sure we're going to lose all of play next year, that means we lose the Reds would lose value because he's a year older and all the other stuff, and he didn't get to play next year. And then the very next year, 2027, that's the arbitration year. And if you trade him this year, you're going to have peak value. You're going to get everything you can get back this year for Elly that you could possibly ever get. And you wait for that arbitration year, then the Reds are going to be in the position. Do we pay the arbitration, that 1 year salary of through the roof? Or do we basically, and just getting rid of Elly, I don't think resets the whole clock. Maybe I'm wrong, but if you get rid of him right now, trade him this season right now, you can get pieces that help this team right now to make them even more competitive than what they are with Elly. What's your thoughts on that one?
Business-wise, I get it. I mean, this is why last year when I talked about trading Hunter Green and everyone lost their mind, I'm like, look, it makes – I forgot – it was one of the reporters from the Cincy Enquirer that put out the piece about trading Hunter Green, and everyone said how just foolish this guy was. And I was like, no, I actually think it's a good point. I do think trading Hunter Green makes a lot of sense because you have one of the best rotations in baseball. Now, some of that's because of him, but I talked about this with Andrew Abbott at Reds Fest. I said, hey, I don't want this to sound disrespectful to Hunter Green, but like it speaks volumes about how deep your rotation is, that you were without Hunter Green for a month and a half, and his absence really wasn't felt because you guys just kept winning even in his absence. And that wasn't a shot at Hunter, but that just speaks to the depth there. You could trade Hunter Green and get max value for him and maybe get a bat and another back of the rotation starter and still keep chugging along and might even get addition by subtraction. So I don't think it's that crazy from a business standpoint. Elly, if Noelvi Marte blossoms this year, if Matt McClain bounces back, if Stewart is who we think he is and Steer continues to be the more consistent hitter that he's been throughout this time, if we're going to continue to get all of those things, yes, I think you could entertain that at the end of the season because of the prospects you'd get back for Elly. You can keep this thing afloat moving forward. But if not, what I would prefer is we're going to go all in for the next 3 years with Elly. We learned this offseason that's not going to be the case. So, they won't do it. They won't entertain that. And I think he will be here through 2028. I think right up to the last minute. I think that in 3 years, we will all be debating, did the Reds wait too long to trade Elly De La Cruz? I believe, Colin Cowherd does the, Monday's headlines today. I'm doing the 2029 headlines today. The Reds will wait too long to trade Elly is my concern.
What do you think that, and I should have this on my head, but what do you think his arbitration will be in 2028?
No idea. No, I'm not a big arbitration nerd to know like what the standard, like how they even get to a base number. But yeah.
Because the other issue there is who Elly's agent is, and as we're seeing right now with the Detroit Tigers, he's not the easiest guy to be working with when you have a top-notch player. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Scooble, Scooble and the Tigers, they're in the middle of it right now, trying to figure out and it's kind of the same thing with Scooble and the Tigers as we are here with Elly. It's, do you trade him and get something back, or do you just let it ride and try to maximize everything you can while he's on the roster? The Elly one is it's deep and it's confusing to me because we sit there and say that they're not going to spend. Well, it's going to come to that arbitration year, and that arbitration year is probably going to pay him $35-40 million. So we're going to pay 1 year for $35-40 million for arbitration year. Like, that's the part of it I don't know. This doesn't make sense to me.
It sounds like, I'm not comparing him to Trey Hendrickson, but it's what the Bengals in a semi-similar situation of, so you're willing to pay him all that money for 1 year and just, versus getting that deal done long-term or whatever. Yeah, it's going to get messy. It's going to get messy, but nonetheless, I thought the timing of that article being released was odd. And I believe that was fed. Information was fed to C. Trent to release at that time, to release it at night in the middle of Reds Fest. That was, the Reds offered, that because the way that they souped it up. Oh, the highest paid player in the history of the franchise. That's super. That's still not enough. That's the sad thing. But hey, man, we're out of time.
Very sorry. Yep, go blue. Peace.
Damn it. You got to go blue in every time. It's the Justin Kidder Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Tax season is here, and I'm sure you're thinking about who is going to be doing my taxes. I don't think you're worried about who's going to do my taxes. I think you're worried about who's going to do your taxes. Technically, though, who does my taxes could do your taxes. And I'm talking about Michael Maxwell, Arrowhead Tax Service. Try my friends at Arrowhead Tax Service in New Carlisle. You can call Michael Maxwell and Joe Tanis today. Get this number down, 937-543-5770. They are ready to serve you at 100 South Church Street in New Carlisle, a brand new location there. Make sure you go and check it out. And here's the cool thing. If you have not used Arrowhead Tax Service before, all new customers will get 10% off their first filing. So make sure you keep that in mind when you give Michael Maxwell or Joe Tanis a call, just to kind of get, an estimate of what it's all going to run. Give them a call. Let them know you heard it on the Justin Kinner Show. And Michael's taken care of me for years. Keith Byers, everyone at Wing. He does a great job with that. And for the listeners who have used him in the past, everyone's come back saying they really appreciated it and they appreciate his work. Arrowhead Tax Service. To get more information, check them out online at arrowheadtaxservice.com, where their target is your satisfaction. All right, we want to continue on the Reds train. I had a chance to catch up with Hunter Green at Reds Fest. We talked about the performance against the Dodgers in the playoffs. It's not what he, you, or I wanted, but he addressed that. He addressed the offseason that he has had and the learning experience of making the postseason last year. We talked about all of that and more. Hunter Green on the Justin Kinner Show live from Reds Fest. We'll have that conversation with you, for you, when we come back.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.